Hey everyone, Ethan here. It's been a while since I've made a video, so kind of wanted to sit down and talk about what I'm working on. As you can see in front of me, I have my custom chassis CR12. This is the Terramight chassis is what I've named it, with the old body for it, and a Mountain Dew to keep me awake right now, because it is late, but I have been really busy, so now is a good time for me to actually sit down and work on some stuff. I've pretty much been working on this a lot in the past week or two, just making a lot of design changes to fit this Stealth X Trans from Element, because the big reason behind this is Axial stopped making the AX10 transmission, so I can no longer do my motor mount deal, because the new transmission you can't take the motor plate off of. So long story short, it turned into a bunch of design changes, which leads us to this now. This isn't even close to the production version, I guess. The radio box is supposed to be coming off the printers at about 1 o'clock this morning, which is only a couple hours from now. I might still be working, so we could probably put that in. But I do have these rear inner fenders. Of course, they won't bolt up right now. They actually replaced these shock towers and have integrated body mounts in them, so fully enclosed chassis here. And what that is designed for is to mount a quadbuster body. This is my clean body, but there would also be some threads that come up in the back here, and then we can use my screw-on body mounts. I think I'm going to make some smaller nuts though for the front, at least. They're not so out there, I guess, but I wasn't too happy with the magnetic body mounts. They worked pretty good, but really not something I'm super happy with. Basically, the whole purpose of doing this whole redesign is someone ordered a chassis, and I wanted to make sure it was well set up before I sent it out to them. So other changes too is this servo mount is now aluminum that I have bent and into shape, as you can see here, including the track bar mount back there. This mount on the axle is like the original mount. It's not the one that's in production. These are the axles from my original CR12 that were on this truck for a while. And I know you guys didn't get to see it, but I was working on like a rock bouncer chassis for a little bit, not really like to sell, but just a personal project, and I ended up pulling them off of that to put back onto this. I have this beautiful CR12 over here though I'll talk about for a minute. This is actually the CR12 that I used to make the videos of installing the performance package on and installing the metal diff gears on. I built this truck for a customer in Texas, probably last summer I think it was, and this fall or early winter, not this previous fall, previous winter, he contacted me and said he was moving and that he wanted to sell the truck, so I ended up buying it back from him. And then I sold it to a local guy, and the local guy ran it for a little while, and then sold it back to me. So I put this brand new CR12 Ford F-150 body on here, which is now discontinued. Kind of sad. This is like my favorite body. And I put some, these are Axial Yeti Junior tires. It had these big mud tires on it, and the body that was on it was all trimmed, so I put this body on it just because I have it. So this is like the only CR12 that I have that's still in like near original shape. It still has my high clearance transmission in it, and of course the whole performance package. But anyways, I'm just trying to catch you guys up on stuff. I hope you don't mind me rambling at all. Sure, it's still recording. Alright. So, another thing, this body, I think once I get this chassis set, I think I'm going to finally be happy with it, hopefully. There was always something I wanted to change with it, so hopefully once this is all said and done, I'll be pretty happy with it. At this point in time, I think everything's looking really good. Especially down here, the skid plate is a lot higher than it was on the very first version. And these running boards on the side are really smooth. I even have it chamfered from the frame, so this should slide over things really nicely. I'm hoping it's going to be a good performer, as I always do. I also have my brass links on here because this uses the CR12 length links. I put barrage shocks on it here, but it does work with the CR12 shocks. It's actually designed for them. You can see on these shocks I have some helper springs on, which I'll be detailing more once these are ready for production. This right here is my mount for the drop bed on this clodbuster body. If you guys remember my video of installing this bed, I have a new bed coming off of the printer that's clearanced in here. There's a fuel cell because this bed needed to be clearanced to fit around the top shaft on the transmission. So that's getting done, and then I'm just going to use shock towers instead of the cantilever suspension that I had on here, so the bed will also be clearanced in here to allow those shock towers to work. So big changes. I just kind of am hoping to test this before I send it out. Well, this won't be the version I send out. I'll make another one, but I'd like to test my frame before I send it out. So tonight I'm hoping to get a ESC wired up. This is the old one out of my trail finder that has the BEC on it, so I might try and clean this up and take the BEC off, or figure out a better way to wire it because it's really kind of a mess right now. So I think what I'd like to do ultimately is remove the BEC from the Dean's plug here and possibly move it to the power plugs on the ESC, since it's really the same exact thing. And then this ESC will go here on this side rail. My receiver will be kind of up in this area inside of the radio box, and the motor will be right there. But I have to show you guys where the battery goes now. The battery goes here on the back of the wheel wells. It's just the best spot that I could find for it. Doesn't have any contact with the drive shaft, and it used to be kind of in the area where this transmission was, and the transmission was pushed forward, but it doesn't work anymore. So now I have it up here, and that's where it's gonna stay. So I'll show you my new soldering gun. I got two. I've been using it this year. I just haven't made any soldering videos lately. Okay guys, so got all my soldering stuff gathered up. Probably not everything I'm gonna need, but alright, I do have a lot of it. So hopefully these wires won't need to be shortened too much. I was gonna wire up a whole new ESC, but while I was going through my parts bin, I found this one, so I'm just gonna use what's here. I think the first step is just to figure out what's going on with all this wiring. All this disaster of wiring that this has all become kind of made me hate this BEC, so if I can do a nicer job, then I'll keep the BEC on here, but if not, then I don't know. I don't know if this truck really needs BEC anyways, because, well, I have this Hey-OK winch controller and a servo winch that I kind of want to put in here, because I have this beefy servo mount with a servo winch right next to it, so maybe. I think the Traxxas BEC is probably the best that I've seen as far as plug and play, and it really wouldn't be that difficult to make a Traxxas BEC work with any of these other models. You just have to wire the power from the BEC up to power on the battery or at the ESC, because the Traxxas TRX4 already has a power plug coming off of the ESC. That's just direct power from the battery that the BEC plugs into. Hope this is making sense to all of you guys. At least those of you that know what a BEC does. Basically, the BEC just takes power directly from the battery to the receiver, instead of taking power through the ESC and then to the receiver. Basically, it just helps you power like accessories better than going through the ESC or at a higher voltage. So I'm glad we're in here. These joints don't look fantastic. And this is my new soldering gun as of probably 6 months ago. If you're looking for a soldering gun, I would highly recommend this Milwaukee M12 one. It heats up crazy fast. Like, I didn't even have time to get the camera turned on and this was already heated back up. I was texting somebody back. That's not gonna help me. Also, if you don't have a pair of helping hands, highly recommend it as well. Okay, now I'm gonna need some shrink tape to put on this guy before I solder it all back together. There's never the perfect size of shrink tape that you're looking for, but hopefully this will shrink down enough. So this will be fun to test, hopefully tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm not sure at what point I'll be able to get this video out, but I'll probably be driving against the Power Wagon or with the Power Wagon. TRX4, if you guys know that truck, it's pretty capable and still has all the lockers and 2-speed in it. That's what my dad likes to drive. And I can see why. It's a really fun truck. Alright, that should hopefully be close enough. Alright, that looks better than it did. Oh no. Forgot the most vital step. You are guaranteed to forget this on at least one soldering joint on any solder project, and that is the shrink tape. If you guys are curious at all about soldering, the most important thing is to make sure you get everything hot enough that you can get the solder to join well with everything. That's the biggest thing you're going to have when you're rushing, is things are not hot enough, and when they're not hot enough to make a good joint, then things are going to fail. So I guess that kind of is something that I've learned over the years. Just wait till you can get that solder really nice and hot. You can kind of tell when it starts flowing well too. Okay, everybody, I thought I'd also explain or talk about the electronic situation here. I'm just going to be running the stock Element Enduro motor, which I think is a 13-turn reedy motor. But this is, I think they call it a 5-pole instead of a 3-pole. Basically, it just means that the turn count on this is totally different from, say, this Tekin 45-turn motor, which is what came off of this. I'm no electronics wizard, so don't quote me on that, but this is pretty comparable to the speed of like a 35-turn motor would be, so I'm not going to put the 45-turn in this just because I want to have a little bit more wheel speed, and I'll probably want to put a larger pinion in this than comes stock in the Enduro, just because I want a little bit higher wheel speed than I get out of my Enduro right now. But I am going to be pulling the pinion off of the Enduro to run with this for a little bit, just because I don't have any other pinions that are to the same pitch as the Enduro spur gear. So that'll be getting ordered along with all the other parts I'm going to be ordering the next couple days here. So I just thought I'd explain what's going on with the motor. This is overdriven in this This is the transmission I built in the video where I explained how to build this. So it just has standard overdrive, nothing extreme, but also more than nothing. So I'm going to get back to work. Okay guys, I got the soldering done. Now I'm gonna double side tape this ESC down. I did wipe both of them down with rubbing alcohol just a second ago, so that this will all stick good. I decided just to remove the BEC. I'm just going to keep things simple for now, and if I ever need to install it, I will. I'll just do a better job of it than the first time. So, something when you're sticking electronics down or picking their position to consider is any hardware that's close to it. Just make sure not to stick it in the way of anything, that way you'll minimize the chances that you'll have to peel up the double-sided tape. So like this screw right here for the rear upper links, I want to make sure not to put it in the way of that if I had to remove that for some reason. This little switch guy here, I'll probably try to stick, I don't know, it's a good question. Never really know what to do with these switches because I don't use them, but I never feel like I want to cut them off either. So, and on the motor plate here, this actually worked out pretty good for me, where I can put a zip tie through here to hold these wires in place. Probably doesn't need it, but do it just for safekeeping. And I also put this automotive wire loom around the motor wires. Not so much to keep them close together the entire way, but just down by where they meet the motor. I'll show you guys that in a second. Okay, so for this motor, I didn't make the wires come straight out like you would typically do on one of these motors. I made them perpendicular, kind of, because the battery is so close to them. Just like this. So, in this instance, I chose to solder to the motor while the motor is still in the truck, just for that reason, so that I know I can clearance everything right. Sometimes if you solder stuff outside of the truck or vehicle or whatever, things can end up being a little bit tight or not exactly what you're expecting, so it's just easier to do this sometimes. I mean, a little bit of a pain, but really I like to do this better, just so that I know I'm not going to be having wires touching the frame or anything, or it might be grounding out. Now I just need to steal the pinion gear off of the trail runner. Here it is, all dirty. And also, I hate these body pins that are on the trail runner. Sometimes I just feel like I need pliers to take them out, but I actually have some chrome ones I'm going to put in their place right now that came off of one of these CR12s, because even though they'll be more visible, they'll be easy to take on and off, and the ones that are on this trail runner are just such a pain in the butt to get on and off for me. Let's see here. More Milwaukee tools. Alright, this spur gear cover, you know, I think it'll fit, but we'll have to see how that works out with the bed in place. I know this would hit the back of the factory bed, so I'm just keeping mine off. I don't really have any issues with having it off, but I think, let's see here, there it is. Yeah, so anyways, I ended up swapping this Trailmaster 13 turn motor into here because I thought it would be faster, and it wasn't at all. So I did all that soldering for nothing, I guess, but that's alright. I'll probably find a faster motor for it eventually, or put a 2-speed transmission in it, because the Enduro is really pretty slow. Now I need to adjust the mesh on those gears after I put the trail runner back together. So I'll have to order another pinion gear, which isn't a big deal. I think they should be pretty cheap. And I also need to make an order for rod ends for these trailing arm kits, and then some more parts that'll go with these trucks. So, alright. Oh yes, some nice and easy to install body pins. I don't know what's up with these Enduro pins, why they're so stiff, but I can't stand putting them on. That's better though. Alright. Now, getting closer. I think I'll need this guy. So, something to remember when you're setting the mesh is that having it too loose is always better than too tight, as long as you're not so far too loose that you're going to be stripping out teeth. But if you have it too tight, it's going to put a lot of strain on everything. You want to be able to roll this with some pretty minimal effort. Of course, you'll be able to feel the motor. One of the things you can even feel these motors are, this stock Enduro motor is smoother than the others because it doesn't have that kind of like jerk where it wants, the magnets want to like find each other. This doesn't really seem like it has those positions that it wants to jump to, whereas like this will. You can see it kind of jumps to the position that it likes. This motor doesn't really have that, so very nice electronics that they're putting in these trucks, or putting in the Enduros that I'm putting in this truck now. I guess I'm gonna rob the batteries out of this Chirix 4 controller for a minute to make sure everything's programmed okay. Oh, unless there's batteries in this already. I just bought this controller used at an event, so if I get lucky, this will all just work. Alright, so gotta adjust that upper link over here a second. And it looks like I could probably trim the bump stops on this axle so I can get a little bit more steering. Alright, so what I need to do is, let me just get all of the bits out now. Pliers. This isn't a problem that anybody should have with this chassis, it's just that I'm running taller shocks from an ECX Barrage. So that's going to increase the drive shaft angle, and also this Enduro transmission, which you may or may not choose to run, is like longer length to length. So if you were to run an AX10 transmission, this drive shaft would come back further, which would in turn make the pinion angle less, the drive shaft angle less severe. So we'll try that, see if that makes a difference. Alright, we'll try that now. Should be better. Turn this on. Alright, nice and smooth. Alright guys, so I think that's kind of going to wrap things up for the night. The printer's got about 45 more minutes on it until the bed's done. The receiver box should be done in about half an hour, but I think I'm going to call it a night and deal with it tomorrow. But we did make some good progress. I hope you guys enjoyed catching up with me. I'll be interested to hear some of your thoughts. I know some of you guys have been following since this started at the beginning of 2019. I'm pretty sure I started working on this thing actually on New Year's Day, but I never really thought it would have taken me this far, I guess, or this long to get it perfected. I think my problem is I'm never really just satisfied. But I did have to make some changes. This aluminum servo mount actually raises the servo up about 1/8 of an inch compared to where it was at, so I added a spacer there, and then plus these shocks add some more, so a second spacer, and then that unlocked the suspension. What was happening, it was kind of locking up because the steering ball joints here were like reaching their maximum angle, so now we are all good. Of course, we got all the soldering done. Once I have the receiver box in place, I'll be able to clean up this wiring. And in case you guys didn't see it, I just have this Tactic 3-channel remote that comes stock on a lot of the Axial RTRs with these buttons for a winch if I want one, or lights or whatever. But some other parts that I guess I didn't mention earlier, these are Boom Racing Baby Hustler tires. They're a 1.55 size, and they're about a 3.74 outer diameter or height. And then these are the rims off of my Element Enduro Trail Runner. They're just the Enduro 1.55 wheels, and the hubs actually do work. This is a Savox servo digital. It's a 4096, and it's waterproof. It's been a good servo for me. I don't remember what it was originally in, but it's made its way here, so. But yeah, this is running smooth now. And I really am super excited to try it once I get the new bed in place. Tomorrow probably. Hopefully nothing gets rained out, because I've really been wanting to drive this for a while, especially with how smooth the underbelly is. It's going to be really awesome. I would have just tried it with this body, but this is kind of like my clean body at the moment right now. With the rear inner fenders, this would just mount right up, but these tires are pretty big for this Clodbuster body, at least at this scale height that I'm at. I have to adjust my steering trim, it looks like, just a little bit. But yeah, my steering is reversed though. Okie dokie. So you can see how it rubs there, but basically this chassis is just designed to be a scale solution for the Clodbuster body on these CR12 axles. You can either think of it as a CR12 upgrade kit or a scale chassis for the Clodbuster body, but it should also fit other monster truck bodies. It also fits like the Proline Blazer body that's on a short wheelbase. This is around 10 3/4 wheelbase. So I'm gonna be eventually probably picking up some other monster truck bodies just to try and fit them to this, because they're also kind of in this size scale. So yeah, it should be fun. Hopefully I can shoot some video of it and get you guys a video of assembling the production version later on down the line. I just kind of want to catch up with you guys and get some work done on this at the same time. So anyways, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.